Okay, so here's a bunch of math about ellipses and how they work and all that kind of stuff. And we're going to play with this with your problem and see if this even works. Maybe it won't work at all, but my theory is that your two things in your tool have to be at the focal points. And so we have some formulas for how they're related and how we can find that focal point if this is the very center of your ellipse. And so let's get some like information in here. Basically, this is using a coordinate plane. So if you're 21 by 16, right, you're saying that this distance is 21 and this, I can't draw, is 16. That would mean that your A is 10.5 and your B is 8. Okay? And so we need to figure out your C point, basically, is what we want to figure out, is your C point. So according to this formula, it's basically the Pythagorean theorem because that will always make a right triangle, is the idea here. So that's just kind of how they're related. So we should be able to figure that out. So we should be able to say like 10.5 squared equals 8 squared plus C squared. And obviously we're just going to be rounding here. So 10.5 squared is 110.25. And then minus 8 squared, which is 64, because we want it on the other side of the equation, C squared. So 110.25 minus 64 is 46.25. And the square root of that is about 6.8. So yeah, it's like 6.800, so that's really close to 6.8. So your focal points would be 6.80, or for the sake of what your graph is, all we're really saying is that like the distance from the center to here would be 6.8. So that may be too big to work, but my theory was that those two holes need to be 6.8 plus 6.8 inches away from each other, but it didn't look like that was even an option for your tool. So I could be wrong. My theory was that you had one of them in the center, and I don't think that's what you want. I don't think you want one of them in the center. I think you want one on either side, but I could be totally wrong. I'm going to look up a little bit more. All right, one of the first things we want to do in a problem like this is we want to define our variables, and they're telling us to find the number of ounces of peanuts and spices. Okay, so let's define our variables. So let's say P equals the ounces of peanuts, and S will equal the ounces of spices. And we can make a little table in this. And so first off, we know that our total number of peanut ounces plus our total number of spice ounces has to equal 18 ounces. We know that. They told us that right here. The next thing is that we have this price. And so if we took the number of ounces of peanuts and we multiplied that by $4 per ounce plus the number of ounces of spices and multiplied that times $1 per ounce. Well, what is that going to equal? Well, that has to equal, and this is what's a little bit tricky, that has to equal $2 per ounce of the total amount. And so the total amount, remember, is P plus S. So that's a little bit weird. But now we have this equation here. Well, we already know how many total ounces there should be in this total bag of Narachi's Red Hot Peanuts. So it should be 18. So if I was to plug in an 18 here, and remember this is really 18 ounces. Well, this is 18 ounces for $2 per ounce. Well, the ounce units will cancel out. So what do I have here? I really have 18 times $2, or I really have $36. Okay, so we know that much. Now, the other thing here is to kind of make this a little bit simpler.
remember that this P is ounces of peanuts, and I'm dividing by ounces, and I have an ounce is like kind of what this unit already is. So we can kind of, like cancel out these ounces. So I'm going to rewrite this and kind of think of this as 4P, and I'm going to think of this as basically 1S. And 4P plus 1S equals 36. So bear with me, I'm a little bit sick, so I don't know if I'm doing a great job of explaining this, but that's what we have so far. So let's just recap. We know that P plus S equals 18 ounces, and we know that $4 times the ounces of peanuts plus $1 times the ounces of spices, all together should equal $36 because, you know, 18 ounces cost $2 an ounce for this whole bag, so we know that's $36. So we have these two equations. Well, we can take this equation up here, and since it's already got P and S without any coefficients, this is a really easy equation to solve for whichever one we want. And I think it actually would be easiest to solve for S, since S is technically by itself too, right? It's just got a coefficient of 1. So let's take this equation and let's solve for S, meaning we're going to subtract P from both sides. So remember, I have P plus S equals 18, subtract P, so S equals 18 minus P. All right, that's easy enough, seems easy enough. Well, now what I can do is since I know that S equals 18 minus P, I could take 18 minus P and I can replace it for S right here. So what I have now is I'm going to kind of rewrite it right here. I have that 4P plus S, but remember, what is S really? It's 18 minus P equals $36. And these are all really, remember, this is kind of like dollars. This is all really dollars. Okay, so what does this become? This becomes 4P minus P plus 18 equals 36. Okay, so 3P plus 18 equals 36. So 3P equals 18 if you subtract 18 from both sides. And then divide by 3, divide by 3. Okay, we know that P should equal 6. Well, what did P really mean from the beginning? Remember that that's the ounces of peanuts that we need. Okay, so what's the ounces of spices then? Well, if P is 6, we should be able to quickly tell, like, you know, from any of these equations, we can use this one, we could think about this one, we can use this one. We should even be able to use this one. But if P is 6, then we should be able to plug that in and figure out what S is. So my guess is that if P is 6, 18 minus 6 is 12. So my guess would be that S would equal 12. I'm pretty sure that's how you're supposed to do it. I hope that's the correct answer, but that's how I would go about doing this problem. Hope that helps. I'm a little sick. Sorry if it doesn't make sense.